Welcome. It's the Fourth and Goal Sports Podcast, and it's our typical 5-minute countdown. On tonight's show, David and Chris are going to talk about Week 7 in the National Football League as we recap all the games. We'll talk injury news, coaching circles, quarterback carousel, and then we'll preview the Week 8 games in the NFL. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How you doing tonight, David?
Good evening, and hello to everybody out there in podcast land. It's the Tuesday Night Spectacular. Full recap of Week 7 in the NFL, previews of Week number 8, news and notes, injury reports, coaching circles, all kinds of news and notes here from the NFL. Chris, where would you like to start tonight?
I'll leave it up to you, buddy.
Well, come on now. You were supposed to have the shades and the cigar and all. Come on, talk some smack. You know, that the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings. And I mean, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it eventually. But, I want to say something. And, I make little predictions and we talk about, the games when we do our previews and everything. And I did a complete 180 on you, buddy. I picked Detroit to beat the Vikings in my Picks with David video on Sunday. I also took the Chiefs to beat the 49ers. And so while I went with Minnesota and San Francisco on Tuesday night, the more information I got, the more it looked like I was going to be right. And I had a perfect 6-0 week this week on my videos for Thursday and Sunday. So that's what I'm happy about. But I think the news of the week has got to be the injuries around the league. And, I mean, we could talk about them as we go through the games, or we could discuss them right off the top. I'm not happy. Okay. But I think the Cleveland Brown fans are, because they'll get an opportunity to see a different quarterback take over for the Browns. There were people that were cheering that he got injured, Deshaun Watson, who tore his Achilles. They've been in a chokehold, with this contract that was fully guaranteed, and he has not played up to, the contract that they gave him. He has not been the Deshaun Watson of his Houston Texan days, and there's a real good possibility that he may just go ahead and hang it up. This is his third significant leg injury in his football career, going back to, I believe, college. And, we've got, I don't know if he's torn Achilles before, but I know he's torn ACLs before. This may be his first Achilles. And so, he may decide he's had enough money. He's tired of taking, the grief and the booze and the cheers when he goes down, and just decided to maybe retire after he goes through the rehab and gets himself, fixed back up. But we'll see what happens, going forward. We had a couple other players that took some major hits, over the last couple of days. And we could go with Chris Godwin, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with a significant leg injury. We've got Brandon Ayuk. Hope that $30 million tastes good to San Francisco, because he's out for the season with a torn ACL. And, it just feels like we're getting to be about close to the middle part of the season. We're really just past the third of the way there, type of mark here. And a lot of significant injuries. A lot. There have been over 60 quarterbacks in the NFL that have taken a snap this year for 32 teams. A lot of the backups have played. For every team, we've seen, some injuries to the quarterbacks. Wide receivers are hurting all over the league. Nico Collins is out for, Houston. Rashee Rice and now Juju Smith-Schuster for the Chiefs. We talked about Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans with the hamstring that could be significant and keep him out for weeks with the Buccaneers. And so a lot of injuries around the league, but of the big matchups, and of course we're going to go through each individual game here, of the big matchups this week, of all of the games that I watched, there was one game that impressed me. It didn't start out great, but by the time the game was over, I got a little bit of worrisome about how strong a team they could be with Russell Wilson at quarterback in Pittsburgh. Because, man, did they look good. I know that the Jets are not world beaters. Everybody wants to tout them up as being a Super Bowl contender. But in that particular game, the Jets supposedly have a good defense, okay? They have the pass rush. They got cover guys. They got, all-pro corner and Sauce Gardner. And they got all-pro wide receivers. They got great running game. They got a future Hall of Fame quarterback. And maybe they just need a little bit more time to gel. Maybe every team takes a little bit longer sometimes. These different teams take a little longer to put things together. I remember when the Buccaneers had Tom Brady in his first year there, and they lost to the Bears in Chicago, and it was like the sky had fallen, and then they didn't lose again. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Me, I want to see more out of Steelers with Russell. I got to at least see one more game. And the only why I say this is because, to me, this was last minute. Last minute for sure. I know there was rumors through the week of Russell possibly starting, but to me, it wasn't set in stone until a couple days right before game time. And, the Jets, they were preparing for runs. And the Steelers ran the ball, but the part where I was watching it, even the announcers were saying that they weren't running the ball like they did the previous games. So I want to see, was the offense really that good, or did they just stun New Jersey? And the defense was that good to mess up the offense on New Jersey and the Jets. But Russell looked good. He had a solid game. It
was a little shaky early.
Seattle.
Once they opened up the offense, it really turned over. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it could be there. I just want to see one more game and just see if that's really how good they are, or was it just because they really shocked the Jets with different play calling? I know what you're saying about the injuries, man. It's definitely crazy. They were talking on the radio here today about it, about the fans of Cleveland booing. Some guys were pretty pissed off that fans went that low. A couple guys replied back on the radio, said that they were okay with it because that's what happens when you're a shitty person and do shitty things. Karma comes back in fourfolds. So to me, that's a gray area. I know as a fan, I'm not going to boo somebody's injury, even if the guy is a piece of crap. I mean, being happy, one thing that you might be getting out of contract.
It's not unheard of to have fans cheer somebody going down. Michael Irvin famously got cheered for being injured and basically ended his career in Philadelphia when he was with the Cowboys.
But you can't really
and starting quarterbacks that people do not want out there. Everybody's calling for the backup quarterback. We've seen this kind of situation before. Maybe not to this extent, but it is what it is. So, Let's move on, and we'll have more injury news and things to talk about as we go through a recap of week number 7. The Thursday night game, the Denver Broncos go to New Orleans, and New Orleans had to start Spencer Rattler for the second week in a row. And here's another situation where you've got wide receivers that are hurt. They signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling today to join the receiving corps because they've got Olave with a hamstring injury. They've got Rashid Shaheed is out for the season and was placed on IR, I should say. I don't know if it was a season-ending injury or not. But because Derek Carr's not out there, because there's not the threat of the deep pass, the running game has suffered. Denver's defense came to play. Bo Nix is steadily improving as a quarterback, just like these other rookie quarterbacks are week to week. And so I picked Denver to win the game. I wasn't surprised. I thought New Orleans might keep it a little bit closer, but, we got 33-10.
I didn't catch none of that game, and it just feels like yesterday the Saints were really hot, and boy, have they cooled off.
They started 2-0, and they've lost 5 straight, and I don't think it's going to get any easier going forward for them. Starting early in London, we got the New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think that the way Jacksonville performed, I think that Tank Bigsby did an excellent job running the football. Travis Etienne has clearly been hurt for several weeks, and his lack of explosiveness in the running game has hurt the offense. We talked last week about Jaguars dropping balls in the end zone, repeatedly, lots of penalties. I know New England is a weaker, beat-up team, but I really think that the victory by Jacksonville here may have saved Doug Peterson's job. Now, they got a tough one coming up, real soon here, but I just think that this was a very important game for this team to get back on track. Hopefully their momentum can continue, because otherwise we're going to see more coaches get fired in season, I think.
This game, I just want to say, screw Doug Peterson. Screw the Jaguars. I wish they lost this damn game, because what's here, and this is just fantasy purposes for me, because I got Bigsby. Bigsby went off the first time I got him, started him last week. Literally one of the reasons I lost last week. So I sat him this week. Heard he was starting. I messed up. Didn't start him. So that's not what I'm mad about. I'm mad that the dude goes off again as soon as the game's over, and I'm like, you know what? It possibly caused me to lose another week. That's on me. And as I'm getting excited to find, because battling injuries, speaking of injuries, so now I'm thinking I got that little diamond in the dirt who's going to become the starter, because to me, out of all the running backs Jacksonville got, he's the only motherfucker who's doing something.
Right.
First press conference, Doug Peterson. Bigsby will not be the starter. Travis Etienne is still the starter. Why? He's doing nothing for you.
Don't worry about what is said in news conferences. Just because he's starter doesn't mean he's going to get the bulk of the workload. Okay. I think that he is just appeasing egos at that point, because everybody knows that Etienne's got the shoulder, the hamstring. He's had, issues throughout the year, and they should be a two-headed attack. That's what Peterson had in, Philadelphia. He had a two-headed attack there, And so there's no reason to not have a two-headed attack here, but somebody's got to be named the starter, and the person with the seniority and a person who has 1,000 yards rushing in a season is Travis Etienne, but he's injured. Okay. And the reason I think he has to say this is because Etienne's coming up real soon for a contract extension. And he don't want to ruffle his feathers because he knows that when healthy, he's an elite back.
Yeah.
So, but no surprise here, Jacksonville beating New England. Again, Drake May looked the part for New England, but he just feels like he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to. So they need to get some weapons on that team this next offseason. The defense was okay, even though, Mayo, the coach, said that they were soft. They weren't soft. They're just, when the other team is controlling time of possession, you're going to get worn down. And it was a long trip to England. I think that technically he was out of line saying that because there's a lot of good players on that defense. And
I think, me personally, with the Mayo, I think you're going to see him gone at the end of the year. Because after
he won't be one and done.
I don't know. We have to see, because I don't know if you caught it, but I know their new rookie receiver on that team, right after that all took place in the locker room and the reports came out that he called out the whole team, their first receiver, the high pick, one they drafted this year, put on Instagram, peace. So, to me, it really depends on how the season plays out, because if them players give up on them this year and it gets real ugly and drama breaks up, is Robert Kraft going to sit behind that? I mean, you might be right, because we've never seen the Patriots deal with this. I mean, as long as I've been alive and been a football fan and understood the game, I've never seen the Patriots this low. You might have in your life, because obviously you're way older than me, but
way older. Wow. Well, in that case, let me say this, since I'm such way older. I love how you can use one word, peace, to infer that the locker room has been lost by the head coach.
There was more articles on it, on every one. So
The Seattle Seahawks surprised the hell out of me and went from West Coast to East Coast and took down the Atlanta Falcons. It's interesting because, everybody was talking about Atlanta being the team that was going to win this division, but I just don't think they've got the stomach for it. When they face a team that's got a game plan that can run the ball at them, a la Kansas City, Pittsburgh, etc., okay, they fold their tents and just, they don't have the toughness, in my opinion, that it takes. Seattle is a hardened team. They got the lead in their division right now, and they don't want to look back. 49ers lost. Cardinals barely scraped by. The Rams are not doing much. And here's the Eagles sitting at 4-3, knocking off another team that's supposed to be making a playoff run. The Falcons could be in trouble. I know they're playing Tampa Bay soon. And, Tampa Bay is going to be angry after that loss. I don't know who they're going to throw the ball to other than the tight ends and the backs, because it feels like all their receivers are hurt. But I just don't see – Atlanta looked like they did not prepare to play this game.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Kamara just signed a 2-year extension with the Saints.
Oh, well. That's good news, and that I don't know if that puts him on the trade block or, because I think he would like to be traded. Or are they, looking at, hey, we need to keep this guy locked up. He's our running game. He's a threat out of the backfield. If Derek Carr is back this week, they'll have an opportunity to possibly win. But I think that if you're starting Rattler, he is too erratic. I don't think he protects the ball well enough. And because they're not able to run the ball like they were before because there's no threat of the deep pass, they're not grinding up, time on the clock, and it's weakening their defense because the defense is on the field so much. So that's interesting to hear that just happened.
Real quick, Earl Jackson wants to know, who do we have in the Super Bowl matchup this year?
Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions, with the Chiefs winning.
I got the same, except the opposite result. KC is 0-2. They will be 0-3 against us after this matchup. But that's my pick, Gil.
With a more, if I want to call it, not necessarily reasonable, but if I didn't pick Detroit and Kansas City, which is our two teams, then my backup matchup right now would be the Baltimore Ravens against the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. That would be my backup, if we couldn't pick the teams that are ours. So, moving on here, we've got the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. Do you have a backup matchup?
I would say probably Baltimore, and then
and anybody that's not in the NFC North, because damn be sure you don't want to pick one of them.
I would say I kind of have to go with the Packers a little bit, but but I will say this: if the injuries don't kill Tampa Bay, that they just happened to them in the wide receiver core, I did have Tampa Bay, not going to lie, in the mix. But we got to see how bad this – I don't know how long Mike Evans is out. I know Godwin's done for the year.
Yep.
But you know what I'm saying? I don't know until we see how the wide receiver core responds in the next couple weeks here.
Tennessee started Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and the Buffalo Bills dominated the game. That's pretty much the story here. They utilized James Cook pretty well, and Ray Davis. Cook was back after missing, a previous game with a knee injury. Keon Coleman got his first 100-yard receiving game, the rookie wide receiver out of Florida State. Buffalo feels like one of these teams that 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off, 1 week they're on, 1 week they're off. And because they're playing a weakened team, Tennessee was highly thought of this offseason. They added so many players to their secondary and their defense. They bring in receivers and running backs. And, it looks like they've, remade their team with a bunch of stars. And they have a 1-5 record to show for it. I have zero faith in the Titans going forward the rest of the season.
No. Tennessee's they're tanking at this point. I don't see nothing changing. They've went to the backup QB. Nothing's changed. I mean, maybe less picks, but the same result. No, they're in a full rebuild, so it kind of threw me off because I don't know who signs big stars with a lot of money in a rebuild.
I didn't think Calvin Ridley was worth the money they signed him for anyway, and it's starting to prove itself out.
Oh, for sure.
Well, here was a clear indication that the Cleveland Browns defense is still really good. It's the offense that's holding them back. And it looks like it's going to be Jameis Winston going forward. Cincinnati hangs on and beats Cleveland 21-14, and they needed this victory pretty bad because as it stands now at 3-4, they're looking up at two teams that at this point are looking pretty elite in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I would have said, 2 weeks ago that Pittsburgh's a playoff team, but not necessarily elite. But after watching that Sunday night game, they're going to give anybody that they play all that they can handle with that defense. And now they've got the offense is going good in the passing game. We know they got a running game. Cincinnati, hopefully they have got things turned around here. They get a little momentum. And we'll start to, knock some people off. But it hasn't been a real good start to the season for them. And Cleveland, we know about their quarterback woes with Deshaun Watson. They did get Nick Chubb back, and he was limited. Tried to work him into the mix with the other running backs that they had. I expect we'll see more of him going forward, especially if Winston plays well at quarterback. Cleveland could be a sleeper pick over the next few weeks against some of the teams they're playing.
Yeah. They're climbing up the hole. The Brown season, I hate to say it's probably done and over with unless Jameson Winston
lights it up.
Pull some magic. The defense is still good, though, but I expect Cleveland to start selling pieces. And the Bengals, they're one game from hitting 500. To me, they should just be focused on getting to 500 and take it game by game. They might work their way back into this season.
Hi, Ron. Sorry you had to work all day long.
Hey, great
matchup. Buddy. Great matchup between a couple of definite contenders from each conference. The story of this game was all about running backs and defense. And in the end, just as I said in my Picks with David video earlier in the week, the defense for the Packers won out. Jordan Love drives them down there, and kicker that they just picked up in Brandon McManus hits the long distance field goal to win the game 24-22. This very well, and a lot of things would have to happen, but this very well could be a Super Bowl preview. I really like both these teams. I think that the Packers are doing what they're supposed to do and have been okay. No problems really. Couple early season losses that are not too bad. But, Houston has not been offensively what I thought they would be this year. And part of that could be because of injuries. They didn't have Nico Collins for a couple of weeks, and now he's on IR. But the running game with Joe Mixon, when he's been in there, has been really good for them. I think they got a real strong offensive line. But whether the receivers are not getting open or C.J. Stroud is just holding the ball too long, he took a few sacks in this game that I didn't think he needed to.
Yeah. I think it's just the bingo. Him and Dell need to work together because, I got excited because this week I started Dell thinking that, he should be going off. Collins is not there to take balls away from him, and he put up a goose egg across the board. Had 4 targets, that's it. So I'm not sure what's going on exactly. I know Houston has still been winning games. This is only their second loss without Collins. But to me, at some point, I would like them to see if they can get that right receiver. Because at some point, better teams are going to take that run away a lot more than these other teams have. But other than that, they're a solid team. Same with Green Bay. I think Green Bay would be more of a Super Bowl contender if they had one more better receiver on the team.
They're going to be getting tight end Luke Musgrave back here within the next week or two, and so they'll be able to use the double tight end sets. I don't think they need any receivers. You know, they got Watson and Dobbs and Wicks and Reed. I don't know how many more they need than that, you know. And Kraft has been putting up some big numbers fantasy-wise at tight end in the absence of Musgrave. And so, you know, I like what they're doing with their offense, you know, the play-action passing, the bootlegs by, you know, Jordan Love, and then him getting the ball down the field. I just, you know, of the two teams, I thought the Packers were the better team, and it proved out in this particular game.
Yeah, they're definitely a solid team, and they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be a thorn in the side of the Lions and the Vikings going forward. You know, this division's not going to be easy. We've seen how Sunday played out. But good game by the Packers.
So Anthony Richardson started for the Colts, and Tyler Huntley started probably for the last time if Tua Tagovailoa is able to come back as expected this next week.
Thank God.
The running game was a little bit better for Miami, but Waddle and Tyreek Hill each caught one pass in the game, and that's how come this team isn't able, you know, to put up the big numbers that it usually does offensively. I think if Tua comes back this next week, I think that they're going to have a decent comeback matchup against Arizona. It'll give him an opportunity to, you know, rework himself back into the offense. We'll see an explosion offensively by the Dolphins this next week. But, you know, the Colts just kind of dink and dunked and hung in there and managed to come back and win this game.
Yep. I almost won $500. I bet a 5-leg parlay, hit 3. Dolphins, Deshaun was one of my reasons why I missed, because he could have scored a touchdown. I felt like this game that the run game should have been able to get going, and he should have been able to find the end zone. But I can't believe that they can't get – when Tua's in there, the running game is fire in Miami.
That's because they're able to pass the football. The threat of the pass sets up the run.
Yep. So I cannot wait for next week to have Tua back, because I have to climb out of a fantasy hole at 2-5 when I was in first place just a few weeks ago at 2. Killing.
Is this our money league?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm still going to make the playoffs. I'm going to be there when the time comes.
Hey, let's talk about the big matchup between our teams here. Really, this game, in my mind, could have went either way. But early on, it was the Vikings were up 10-0. You know, the Lions came back, took a 21-10 lead, and then the Vikings came back and, you know, overcame them, you know, before the Lions eventually won out in the end. But, you know, there were some turnovers. I thought both teams ran the ball decently. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more running game out of the Vikings, kind of keep the Lions offense off the field. But for the most part, I was not disappointed at all. I thought it was a great game. And I didn't think that either team gave it away. It was just a hard-nosed, hard-fought game, and I expect that we'll see something similar when the Vikings play at Ford Field later in the year.
Yeah. This game was an emotional roller coaster, I think, for both sides. Teams kicking ass. I mean, I thought Minnesota was going to blow us the fuck out. I'm not even going to lie. That first quarter, I was like, man, don't make me waste my fucking Sunday for this shit. That was my thinking. Here we go. For first place, everybody's paying attention. We're going to come out here flat and get our ass whooped. And then, bam, we took the lead, gave it up.
Chris was experiencing his Lions PTSD.
Oh, for sure. But, you know, at the end of the game, it was kind of the collusion I made. What it was, it really showed me on how good of a team we were. That we literally started out that bad, got the lead, gave up the lead, looking like we're about to lose, and then bam, still come back and win anyway. And to me, even though it's a roller coaster game, with like Ron says, you need your blood pressure pill. To me, those games are nice to see because it shows you really how good your team truly is at the end of the day.
Philadelphia Eagles put together a game for a change. All three phases. Saquon Barkley ran wild against his former team, and the Eagles beat the Giants 28-3. I thought that, Jalen Hurts looked a lot more comfortable. He had both his receivers out there. They looked healthy. Saquon, set up a lot of the play action passing. The Giants looked like they couldn't do anything offensively. I felt like they should have tried to run the football more. Everything was Daniel Jones, either him running it or him passing it. They had both Singletary and Tracy back there to run the football, and neither one of them got at least 10 touches to where they could, come on and let's get some momentum here. And I think that kind of ruined the Giants' game plan because they weren't able to run the football.
Yeah. I want to give big props to Barkley. Barkley had a chance to come in to break his all-time rushing record, and the head coach walked up to him and asked him if he wanted to go in and get the record, and he respectfully said, let the young guys eat. He wants to watch the young kids play, young guys, or whatever you want to call them. And to me, that's really respect. And why I say respect there for him is because this is a game he wanted to break that record.
He could have rubbed it in their nose. He could have rubbed it in their nose, and he didn't.
And, he chose to be a team player and a leader. And to me, that speaks volume for a dude, especially when he came from a bad drama situation and bad blood, that he was still able to be the bigger person at the end of the day.
I know the Rams have a lot of injuries, but I was stunned at how poorly the offense played against the Raiders. I know that the Raiders have a big home field contingent when they play in Los Angeles. And, there were just a ton of Raider fans there. But, I was disappointed in the Rams overall. I can't believe they had to luck into this victory, basically. Both teams turned the ball over, lots of penalties, just a sloppy game overall. I don't know how long it's going to be before Puka Nacua comes back. Cooper Kupp, is very close to playing and being out there. Probably play this week of the Thursday night game. We'll just have to wait and see. But Aiden O'Connell, another quarterback, goes down, and they had to bring Minshew back in. So he'll be starting going forward. But they signed Desmond Ridder, who I believe was on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad, to come in and compete for at least the backup job with the Raiders. So that's going to be your next quarterback that they trot out there to get his head caved in against a good team. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But like I said, sloppy game.
I mean, the Jets have just been battling a lot of injury, or not the Jets, but the Rams. The Raiders, that's a fucking
dumpster fire.
Yeah, one of the worst ones. Speaking of that, there's still a lot of talk going on, rumors. But at this point, they're just rumors. We'll see what happens.
Max Crosby. I don't think he's going in. He's the face of the franchise. They got to have somebody to build the team around.
Yeah. The ball's in his court at this point. And he's the type player that, he's very loyal, especially with going to rehab and becoming clean and beating his demons. I feel like the Raiders worked with him, and and he's giving them loyal. But even though you go to the last press conference, and when they asked him about, the rebuilding again, and his clear response was, "I'm not here to rebuild. I want to win, and wherever that will be." So I mean, he's leaving the window open that he's not happy and wants to go to somewhere to win and not rebuild. But it's kind of that situation where the Raiders, they're not going to they don't want to trade him away because he is the only person that they got for leverage to bring other free agents there. So, I mean, if Crosby's really that unhappy, like the ticket our radio station was saying, the ball is in his court. He's going to have to come out and demand a trade and force it to happen out of there, or it's not going to happen. So to me, anything comes out, it's just rumors, unless he personally comes out and blows it up at this point.
Washington Commanders were already beating down the Carolina Panthers when Jaden Daniels got tackled awkwardly and ended up with a rib injury. Marcus Mariota came in and finished up the game. Commanders beat up the Panthers 40-7. I watched some of this game, and the thing that I enjoyed about the game that had really nothing to do with the game was the contrast in colors and styles of the uniforms on the field. Washington stood out so much against the Carolina silver and blue, and I just, we were flipping through looking at the different games, and I was like, wow, look at that, And then it didn't hurt that Washington was just kicking the shit out of Carolina. And, there's talk that, they're going to have to give Bryce Young an opportunity to get back in there. And I seen him walking around on the field at the end. I don't know if he mopped up and finished the game or not, but I think the Andy Dalton experiment, has run its course. You can only get experience from playing in the game. And so, perhaps it's time for Bryce Young to come back in. He's had an opportunity to sit and learn for several weeks in a row, and maybe they can pick up a win here and there.
Something needs to be done, or they're going to be getting a whole new quarterback next year.
Well, then we get to the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, and this is basically a typical Kansas City Chiefs game over the last couple of years. They just grind their opponents until the opponents make mistakes, and then they capitalize on them. Brock Purdy with 3 interceptions in the game. Now, Juju Smith-Schuster did hurt his hamstring, did not play very long in the game. One of their corners, Jalen Watson, fractured his ankle. So we're going to see a little bit more depth have to be playing in the secondary for the Chiefs. But once again, Kareem Hunt running the football does a fantastic job. They use their tight ends like wide receivers in Kansas City. Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, Jody Fortson, lots of blocking, a lot of intermediate passing to tight ends. And then, they used the big play guy, Mecole Hardman, this week, the guy that caught the touchdown pass to win the Super Bowl against the 49ers, got a jet sweep touchdown, had some big return yardage on some punt returns. The special teams and defense are what is keeping Kansas City undefeated right now. Patrick Mahomes has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns because he's not forcing the ball down the field trying to get big plays. And a lot of stuff is wrong route, somebody slips, somebody falls, balls tipped in the air and intercepted. So some of these are the fault of the receivers, really. But Kansas City stays in undefeated position. The 49ers end up with Ayuk being hurt. It just continues to be a down year for the 49ers. They slide to 3-4 At best, they're the second best team in their division, possibly the third if Arizona starts to kick it in gear. So that's what I got for this game.
Yeah. Debo got hurt in this game as well. To me,
I think he was sick.
Yeah, that's right. He was sick, and then losing. Ayuk.
He was sick of losing to the Chiefs 5 straight. Sunday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers took on the New York Jets. And, of course, they've got Devontae Adams to come in, but he only caught 3 passes for 30 yards. I thought that the Jets did not run the football enough. They're trying to showcase Aaron Rodgers in the passing game too much. And once Russell and the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, started to call some, deeper passing plays, and the offensive line was holding up against the Jets, it was 15-6, and the Steelers scored 31 unanswered points, and they just steamrolled them. Good running game by both Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. George Pickens was catching everything in sight, that Russ Wilson would throw up to him. They've got Dwayne Washington involved a lot in the game on those bootleg passes. And then Pat Freiermuth was a good, target for Russ as well. So, going forward, like you said, we probably got to see another game like that out of the Steelers before we can start being like, holy smokes, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a real contender to get to the Super Bowl. But, boy, it sure looked good to me.
Oh, it did. I just want to see more consistent of it. That's all.
Monday Night Football was a doubleheader at the same time, and the score of this game is not indicative of how much Baltimore beat down Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers recovered an onside kick at one point. Their defense held Baltimore late with their timeouts, and I thought that Tampa at the end of the game, before Chris Godwin got hurt, should have kicked the field goal to make it a 7-point game and then tried the onside kick while they had like 30 seconds left in the game because they were out of timeouts. You had to get 2 scores anyway. I would have kicked the field goal and then tried to get, the onside kick for the second time. But they kicked a couple of onside kicks. They recovered the first. They did not get the second. They didn't have an opportunity to do it the third time as, basically Mayfield took off and ran, and then the time ran out. So, but Baltimore dominated the game after an early 10-7 lead by Tampa Bay. Mike Evans got hurt. That shut down the deep passing game. Godwin got hurt late, but I didn't think it really affected the overall game. Cade Otton showed he is a really good tight end, and he was getting wide open throughout the majority of this game against that Baltimore defense. That's the one thing Baltimore should be concerned about going forward. If they can't cover Cade Otton, what are they going to do when they face Travis Kelce? So, Lamar Jackson got to be in the running right now, along with Jared Goff for MVP of the NFL. Derrick Henry had a couple of really long runs, could be up for Offensive Player of the Year. And I think Baltimore continues to show that they are a team to be reckoned with going forward. Tampa Bay, I think just too little too late. Turnovers by Baker Mayfield, I think, cost them this game. And I think they'd have had a real good shot at actually winning. It'd have been a tight one. But, the turnovers killed them.
Yeah.
And then finally,
also,
go ahead.
No, you go first.
Finally, the Chargers just field goals. Couldn't punch it in and get that touchdown. Kyler Murray made a couple of big-time throws, a couple of big plays. He ran for 40 yards at one point. And, their team battled the entire time. Both these teams really did battle it out, but the Chargers don't have any receivers. All their receivers left at free agency or was traded away in the offseason. If they had them a couple of big play receivers on this team, I think the Chargers would be dangerous because their defense is holding up their end of the bargain. They have run the ball pretty decently, but it was not spectacular in any way against Arizona. Dobbins got the majority of the carries, didn't see much at all from any of the other runners. But James Conner played tough, and he really led the Cardinals on the ground, running the football. And, here's the Cardinals with an opportunity to get back in their division, but they're kind of, you don't know what you're going to get from week to week out of them. They beat the 49ers, they beat the Chargers, but then they lose to somebody they should be beating. So,
yep.
Anyway, so that's your full breakdown of Week 17 or Week 7.
Going up Week 8 before we get this breaking news. Panthers QB and Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident with his family today, as the team spokesman tells MFL Football. Andy is currently being evaluated by team medical personnel. He was heading westbound on Cities Road, approaching Providence Road with his wife and 3 children and a dog. No one from Dalton's family was transported by the emergency medic personnel. Thank God it was nothing too serious, so they're all going to be all right. But almost another QB escapes injury on his day off.
Wow.
This year with injuries has been crazy.
Well, let's look at our preview of Week 8 in the NFL, and that starts with the Thursday night matchup. The Minnesota Vikings go on the road to play the Los Angeles Rams. And, at first glance, I got to be like, well, this should be a good, easy game for the Vikings coming off of a loss to the Lions. But if we go by your notion and your Facebook meme from a couple weeks ago, because the Vikings played against the Lions and are technically beat up and on a short week, the Rams should have an opportunity to win this game. I'm not buying it. I'll take the Vikings to win.
I'll take the Vikings too, because they do have – because you're just running with this way too damn hard. No one said that stat was going to last. It's just what's really played out with every team who's played the Lions the following week they've lost. Now, Minnesota is one of the better teams that has beat us, like Tampa Bay, and even Tampa Bay lost the next week after they beat us.
See, Ron said the same thing.
It's only because you said something. Trying to give us our shit.
Well,
it's a pretty impressive stat. I'm sorry. I like that stat. I hope it lives all season.
Well, hell yeah, you like a stat because it pumps you up to make you look like you're, even better than you are.
Well,
not that you guys are excellent anyway. You're the top seed in the NFC as of right now.
Yeah. That stat will not
in
last.
The AFC North, we've got the Baltimore Ravens, who I'm sure will be playing against Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. I think that Winston could give them a bump up. With their defense comes to play, this is a very tight game. But I think in the end, Baltimore's offense will overwhelm them, especially with the running game. And so I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens in that matchup.
I'm going to go Cleveland. And I'll probably lose this one, and I'm okay with it. I'm just picking for Jameson Winston. Something tells me in my gut that dude's going to come out of there and pull a massive victory that no one's seen coming. It's the storyline for Jameson Winston's career. Because to me, he's always that QB. When you count him out every time he gets a starting job, and he just does. He's just one of those players that will do that to you. So that's my upset for the week.
Okay. Well, here's my sure thing of the week. The Detroit Lions beat the Tennessee Titans.
Agreed. That's why it sucks that J-Mo got suspended.
You don't need him. They didn't do nothing last week. Fucked my fantasy league all up.
Yeah. But it sucks because we got the Packers next week. And it would be nice to have him if need be. But I'll take it. To me, it happened at the best point of the season if it's going to happen at all. And this is why young kids and young players, before you take anything, from what I heard, it's one rumor going around. It was this pre-workout. Something in his pre-workout shit wasn't approved by the league, and that's what got him. I don't know how true that is because they haven't said the substance.
Right.
So if that's the case, to me, these young players need to, go to the team, go to the league, do what you got to do before you fucking take anything new, just so you know if there's a possibility if you get in trouble for it.
Yeah, 2-game suspension for PEDs there, Ron. Indianapolis Colts and Houston Texans. These two each play each other pretty tight. They already played in Indianapolis in week 1, and Houston managed to come out with a victory in that game. I expect the same here. I'll take Houston to beat the Colts.
I'll take Houston too.
Here is a tough matchup because I think that Jacksonville is starting to get things figured out and turned around, but they're playing Green Bay, and Green Bay, I have a lot of respect for them. I think that they can go on the road to Jacksonville and win the game. As far as Jacksonville is concerned, they've spent a couple of weeks in London, so now they come back and they're going to be at home. Maybe it rejuvenates them a little bit. They are coming off of a victory against a tough defense in New England, and they're going to see a tough defense in Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's got to go on the road, and, of course, it'll be probably hot down in Florida. So maybe that'll be at least some sort of some kind of a helpful thing there for Jacksonville. But I got to be honest, I just think that the Jacksonville defense is not good enough to overcome Green Bay's offense. I'll take the Packers in the matchup.
I'll take the Packers too because I ain't taking Jacksonville for shit. But I ain't going to say I won't be rooting for upset.
Yeah.
But Green Bay
Tua Tagovailoa should be back for the Miami Dolphins, and that means that their offense will return against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals, like I said, have been kind of wishy-washy, depending on what kind of team you're going to get. But they got to go on the road, West Coast to East Coast. I'll take the Dolphins under Tua to win that game.
Yeah, I'm taking Miami, and you fucking owe me, you little bastards. Tua, make me proud and give me 2 touchdowns from Hill and get your running back. I don't care if you got to throw it, block for him, do something, get him in the end zone.
Jets are going to have their get-right game in New England. I think this is the opportunity. Davante Adams will have been with the team now for 2 full weeks. I expect that, they're going to get Hassan Reddick. Will be back as pass rusher as he signed a contract to return to the team after not having played with them yet. I think he'll be in situational pass rushing against Drake May and the Patriots, and I think the Jets win this game easily.
I think the Jets win, but give me I think the Jets win. I want New England to win. Just because it's kind of stupid. It don't really bother me, I guess, as much as I want it to bother me. It's just I think it's pretty comical that the Lions did reach out to Reddick. It's Reddick's agent, and the dude had a place to go. Could have worked the trade out, but he chose to sign a contract and play for the Jets. So, hey, if If you want to play for that shit and deal with that.
Well, they're going to have all hands on deck now, for that game. And I think that's the start of the turnaround. I think the Jets will start to, make some noise, start to do some things. They just need to get some momentum in their favor. And what better way than to play the New England Patriots? The only thing that would be better is if they were playing the Carolina Panthers. And so we go to Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. And the thing that worries me about this game is that, they already played a close matchup in Atlanta. Which Atlanta team are we going to see? And is the lack of wide receivers for Tampa Bay going to be a problem? I think that after losing to Seattle, I got to take Atlanta to beat Tampa Bay in Tampa.
I have to, just because of the injuries. I got to see how that offense is going to look. Or because at this point, Baker's going to have to stand on his head and play his fucking ass off to even have a chance at a victory in this game. Also, to me, this is Atlanta's identity. It's coming. They got a good running game. They got a good running back. To me, they need to become better at that. And it looks like they might need 1 more to 2 more receivers, maybe a better tight end or something. Or something needs to click a little bit more. Because to me, if Cousins plays up here, they can win any game they play. But if Cousins is playing here, it just seems like they just lose that close game because they need Cousins here to make up for the holes where they have in the offense, which I get it, but to me, we'll have to see where they're at the end of the year. But to me, they still should make the playoffs. They got a chance at that anyway.
Well, 2 teams that have been inconsistent throughout the year, both of them coming off of victories. You got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Cincinnati Bengals. And I can tell you that the weak spot for the Bengals is their run defense. I expect a lot of Saquon Barkley, but the pass defense is what's weak for the Eagles. And, you're going to see Jamar Chase, and you're going to see, T. Higgins. This is one of those, the last team that has the ball wins the game, 32-30 type of game. But I'll take the Philadelphia Eagles to win it.
I'm going to go with the upset. Bengals have let me down all year, but fuck it, let's ride. Bengals upset the Eagles.
If Derek Carr plays in this game, I'll take the Saints. If it's Spencer Rattler again, I'll take the Chargers. That's my breakdown of this one.
I'll do the same, but I'll just add this in. Even though Jim Harbaugh was my coach at Michigan and got me a national title after all the fucking bullshit years that we dealt with being real good, choking. Even with Spencer Rattler, the Chargers could lose this game because he is trying to do what he did at Michigan, and he's trying to run this team just like he did at Michigan, where they're going to run the ball 90% of the time and throw 5% of the fucking time. I don't know if that's really realistic in the NFL these days.
Well, I can understand why he's doing that because they don't have any receivers. He may have a quarterback, and the quarterback's putting up big numbers, but it's because he's throwing the ball to the tight ends and the running backs. They're not picking up the third downs they need when they get in the red zone.
Yeah.
And that's because they're settling for field goals.
I mean, if you want to break it down here, David, I'm going to be honest. I believe it's his fault he has no receivers because of how he runs his teams. I think a lot of those receivers might have took less money and redid their contracts to stay on the team if it was somebody else. I'm just saying.
Well, Mike Williams got traded to the Jets because they needed the salary cap room.
Well, it's just not that.
Keenan Allen got traded to the Bears. Same reason. Okay, they had Quentin Johnston, but he's hurt. They drafted Ladd McConkey, but he's not completely healthy. They had Joshua Palmer last night, and he made a few good plays. And, I believe in their running game, but they were not able to run the ball as effectively as they wanted last night. So they aired it out a lot, but when they aired it out a lot, they couldn't get their third downs picked up. And
maybe I'm being too harsh because thinking about it is Williams and Allen, regardless of how good receivers they are, they haven't had a clean, healthy season in the last.
Yeah, neither one of them's healthy where they're at now either.
So maybe that was more the situation. I just don't have much faith in him getting good receivers.
Now we start the really good games for this next week. Buffalo Bills travel to Seattle, a battle of first-place teams in each of their divisions. Seattle has already gone on the road all the way to Atlanta and won there. Buffalo, they took out an inferior team in Tennessee. And so now they got to go on the road and play against a team that I think is got a good defense. They really do. And I think that just based on the way that the season has gone, I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to beat the Bills at home.
I'm with Ron. I got Buffalo.
Great matchup here. The top two picks in the NFL draft, the Chicago Bears, and they're coming off of a bye week. Will Jaden Daniels play, or will we see Marcus Mariota? Mariota plays a style that is so much like Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure that they'll miss a beat, but I think that the defense of the Chicago Bears is superior to the Washington Commanders. I'll take Chicago.
I'll take Washington.
This one here is an easy pick. Denver Broncos over the Carolina Panthers.
Denver.
Another easy pick. Well, last year they beat them on Christmas and it propelled them into the Super Bowl after, the Raiders beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Well, the Chiefs are playing at Arrowhead West this week. Kansas City knocks off the Raiders, moves to 7-0.
Chiefs.
Dallas Cowboys cannot beat the San Francisco 49ers to save their lives. I know they're coming off of a bye, and San Francisco is the walking wounded. So I expect a much tighter game than last year when it was like 40-10. But I still think the 49ers have the Cowboys number. I'll take San Francisco.
I want San Francisco, but I will take Dallas. Unfortunately, I just think the 49ers are too banged up. And I believe Dallas comes in here and has a decent game, looks better than what they truly are, and their fans get back up. Oh, we're back. And then the following week they lose again. So that's just what's playing out in front of me when I look at both of these teams.
And then after watching what happened this last week on Sunday Night Football, I got no reason to think that the Giants can beat the Steelers. I like the Steelers on Monday night.
I got the Steelers for Monday night.
So there you have it. A quick edition here this week. I like it.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe the video, which on YouTube is under Christopher Serra.
Yep.
It's on Spotify. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook. And on Facebook, we're on Chris's page, my page, Fourth and Goal Sports page, NFL Renegades, so on and so forth. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope that you will join us again next week on another Tuesday night edition of the Tuesday Night Spectacular. We'll review Week 8 in the NFL. We'll preview Week 9. Of course, we'll have all the news and updates and everything that we know about throughout the league. Thanks, Chris, again for hosting the show.
No problem, buddy.
Thanks to Ron and the other people that commented and kept us involved.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next week. We'll see what storylines happens this Sunday because I think David will agree with me. It seems like every Sunday shit just gets more weirder. and crazier. This has been a pretty weird season. Last year we kind of knew what teams were there. Those same teams some of them are at the bottom of the barrel right now, and some of them are in left field. It's just been weird.
New coaches, injury concerns, a lot of stuff. Yeah, go Lions.
And fuck those Chiefs.
Whatever.
There ain't going to be no three-peat this year, David. Sorry. But, they're the last undefeated team, I believe, left in the league.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs the only undefeated team right now?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, it don't help that it seems like the last 4 weeks, the teams you got are pretty damn easy.
Wow.
Hey.
Wow.
Hey, I just want to see them. The Chiefs are a good team, but they've been battling a lot of injuries. And every game I've watched them,
they're getting everybody's best shot. And it doesn't matter whether you win by 1 or 40, it's a victory.
Oh, I'm not talking shit, David, by any means.
I'm not talking shit either.
I just want to see them have.
I'm simply pointing out. I've looked at the schedule. Okay, I've looked at the schedule. I originally had us down for 5 losses this year. I'm still concerned about injuries, but Isaiah Pacheco is already running on a treadmill. He's going to be back here probably in the next couple of weeks. And between him and Kareem Hunt, we'll have even more solidified running game. I'm not expecting, Marquise Brown back until come playoff time. Rashee Rice, he's done, probably for the season. I think that the hammy will linger for a couple of weeks with Juju. But if they continue to treat their backs and tight ends like their receivers, I don't have any problem with Kansas City with their best defense in the NFL, top special teams, with the people that we got coming up. My biggest concerns the rest of the way, we play Denver twice. We play Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football here in a few weeks. And then in December, we've got the Houston Texans. But we've got the Raiders twice, not concerned. We got the Chargers one more time, and that'll be at Arrowhead instead of, in L.A. I'm trying to think. We got Carolina. Not worried about Carolina. So, going forward, it's looking pretty good. And we've already beat Baltimore. So, having beaten Baltimore, technically we have a 2.5 game lead on them for the number 1 spot in the AFC. And then, so that's the AFC side. On the NFC side, you guys lost to Tampa Bay. And so if Tampa Bay gets their stuff together, you beat Minnesota, who's the second best team right now. But you got Green Bay is coming up soon. That's going to be a tough one for you, I think. Kind of like Minnesota was. And you got to play them. I think you got to play them twice. You haven't played them at all yet, have you?
Who?
Green Bay.
No, we haven't. Not this week, but the following week will be our first matchup against Green Bay.
And you still got 2 matchups against Chicago.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The only person we played
do you guys play Washington?
I don't think we do.
Okay, well that's good. That's good news for you because they're a tough one too. All right, buddy, I'm out. Have a good one, everybody.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.